All commentary and opinions provided by the Jock Support Podcast are solely our own and do not express the views or opinions of our respective employers. No listener of the Jock Support Podcast should act or refrain from acting on the basis of information on this podcast without first seeking a medical professional. All liability with respect to actions taken or not taken based on the contents of the Jock Support Podcast are hereby expressly disclaimed. You ever watch a sporting event and wonder who's the meathead, headbutting dudes in helmets?
Or the guy spraying water through a player's face mask.
Welcome to the Jock Support Podcast. I'm your co-host, Chris Virtue, alongside Colin Francis.
We'll provide our experiences and insights on what really is required amongst the support systems of elite-level teams and athletes.
We're one strength coach
and one athletic trainer,
peeling back the curtain on what really goes on underneath those bleachers. Are you ready, bro?
I'm ready, man.
Yeah, buddy.
Let's get it.
Yeah, make it bounce, make it bump. Always give the party people what they want. The speakers be banging highs, mids, and lows. Make you want to start getting busy on the floor. All the fly girls screaming out.
What's up, Jock supporters? This is Colin Francis here with my co-host, Chris Virtue. And boy, do we have a guest for you guys today.
Yeah, buddy.
Please, Chris, please welcome me and joining Brittney Bearden to the show.
Yeah, buddy.
Brittney Bearden, as we know, is a sports dietitian that works with individual athletes and teams. She currently is the consultant team dietitian for the Dallas Mavericks, FC Dallas, and the Dallas Wings, where she is responsible for developing comprehensive nutrition programming geared to improving health, training performance, and recovery of the players. She completed her undergraduate degree in nutritional sciences at Texas A&M University and her graduate degree in exercise physiology at Auburn University while working as a GA sports dietitian. From there, she worked as a sports performance dietitian at Indiana University and then at Southern Methodist University. She's a registered dietitian, a board-certified specialist in sports dietetics, and a licensed dietitian in the state of Texas, on top of being an awesome friend to Chris and I. So please join me in welcoming Brittney Bearden.
What's up? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you, Brittney. Thank you for joining us. As you know, being involved in sports for some time, you don't start anything without a warm-up. So we have our little dynamic warm-up for you, and Chris is going to kick it off.
Okay, so dynamic warm-ups aren't little, Colin. They're very essential. They're very important. They're led by the strength coach. And if you're going to do anything for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it's going to happen before every workout every day, then it needs to be an important structure of your workout or your training session or your practice session. So the athletic trainer, you go over. That's right. Or your appetite. That's right. So you go make the Gatorade. I'm going to go warm up the athletes so they can perform. All right. I'm going to warm up.
Anytime a strength coach can get in front of the team, man, they will try to take full advantage.
Well, it's not so much in front of the team. It's just the cameras are on. If the cameras are on, then yeah.
Showtime.
Yeah. We got to make sure our medium shirts are on. Okay. So yes, we're going to warm up. I'm going to throw a couple questions at you. Just give us, your best answer. I'm going to try to knock you off your game a little bit just to get you loosened up, but we'll start a little bit in your realm. Favorite cheat meal?
I don't like cheat meals. I don't like to call them cheat meals, but pizza.
Pizza? What kind of pizza? And from where from? I mean, you're in Texas, so there's no good pizza.
Correction. There's a lot of great pizza.
Okay.
I really like sausage and garlic pizza. That's probably my favorite combo.
Okay.
So it's gotta be ground sausage, not the sausage pat, not the round sausage.
Okay. So okay. That's a good pizza. That's a good pie. Thin crust, regular crust, thick crust?
Thin crust, wood fired.
Ooh, that is specific. I like that. I like that. That's very good.
Wood fired is the clutch part.
Red sauce for sure. Red sauce makes or breaks a pizza, so you got to have good red sauce.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, sauce is great. Okay. You've been involved in athletics for a long time. You travel with a lot of teams. Where is your favorite place to travel when on the job?
Ooh, I would say my biggest experience with traveling with teams was with football, and actually it's probably with you, Colin, with the IU football team. So we have some good trips. I think probably my favorite stadium to go to was the Big House. That one was a cool stadium. It was cool to see that. I mean, you know, as you guys know, there's not a lot of time outside of the job, but you make the best of it, and it's always a good time.
Nice. Okay. Last question for the warm up. You know, we're coming off of the pandemic. Everybody's kind of getting back to normal, but when we were in the thick of it, you know, there are a lot of good shows to binge on. What was the show that you binged on during the pandemic?
Ozark.
Ozark. I
So
still
good.
haven't watched that one yet.
You got to watch it.
Oh, it's good. And my latest one is Yellowstone. Have y'all seen Yellowstone?
Yellowstone is fantastic. I love
So
me some Kevin Costner. I asked one of my athletes the other day, I was like, you like Kevin Costner? And she goes, who? And I about cried. But Yellowstone is, I just want to retire and go live that, not the shoot everybody and all the drama, but I want to go live in that ranch.
Oh yeah, awesome. You haven't seen it, Colin?
I've not seen it. What's it on? I got to watch it.
Paramount.
Well, yeah, Paramount.
I think it's Paramount, and it's on the Paramount Plus. And then they're coming out with season 4, and they're coming out with the origin story from like the Oregon Trail days, like 1883. They're going to show how the Duttons started in Montana. Yeah, so it would be good.
So you got 3 seasons to catch up on, Colin.
Hey, if it's Oregon Trail, always caulk the wagon and forge the river. All right.
Watch out for
Caulk that wagon,
dysentery.
forge the river. Dysentery, typhoid will get you. So, Brittney, now we have a little rapid fire. So I need the first thing that comes to your head, okay?
Are we still in the warm up?
Which is still the warm up. Now we're doing the single leg
still
hops.
warm up, doing layup.
Single leg hops,
Okay.
a little burst here and
It's our speed
there,
work.
you
It's
know,
our speed
whatever
work.
the strength coach makes up.
If you
Are we
have
shooting
like a
threes yet
sports,
in the warm up, or okay.
yeah, if you have like a sports scientist on staff who's also the speed guy, this is his time to shine.
This is his time to shine.
Okay,
You ready?
perfect. I'm ready.
First thing that comes to your head. Roll
Okay.
Tide or War Eagle?
War Eagle.
Ariel or Jasmine?
Jasmine.
Dawn or dusk?
Duck.
Sourdough or wheat?
Sourdough.
Movie or TV?
TV.
Bert or Ernie?
Ernie.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
Hook 'em or gig 'em?
Gig 'em.
Hey, there you go. See, those are easy. Ernie, though. Ernie.
Just the first one I chose.
I love it. No, of course, the hook 'em or gig 'em. You know, the one thing I do remember about my first couple interactions with Brittney ever was she was very clear which was correct, which was incorrect, how to do the hand motion. I don't want to try to make it up. We have some athletes here at A&M, and I talk to them all the time about, hey, you know, I know, gig 'em.
What's the A&M hand motion? Like I know there's it.
Well, this is the gig 'em.
Okay.
But then, are you familiar with the whoop? You can whoop,
No,
but
I've
only
known, like, I know
upperclassmen
this
and
one.
grads can whoop up.
Upperclassmen.
It's a whole thing, yeah.
I'm with it. But so, you know, I recently got back from Texas. I was in Houston this past weekend, and it kind of shocked me, right? Houston was an amazing city, but they really do say everything is bigger in Texas. And there were some big portions, there were some big cars, some big malls. But it was interesting to me when I thought about you coming on the show. How did growing up in Texas in that kind of big cattle, heavy meat environment, how did that kind of shape your knowledge of food and where you're at now? Sorry to get right into it, but I'm fascinated.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love talking about food in general. And so, I mean, so I grew born and raised in Texas, was out of the state for a little while, as you guys know, back in the great state of Texas. I do love Texas. There's so many great things about it. When it comes to food, I would say, I mean, I have a couple of memories of food, like growing up. And I guess being in Texas, I mean, I think everywhere has larger portions than what we need, but Texas is probably the case. I actually recently did a little video segment with like a restaurant and a grocery store, and they were promoting 10-ounce beef tenderloin fillets. And so, you know, that's like on the smaller side generally for a restaurant serving of beef. And from the nutrition side, I was going to say, well, a more of like a 4-ounce serving is more appropriate. And they were like, no. The restaurant guy was like, no, we're not saying that. So, yeah, it definitely is with portions, and especially when it comes to beef. I feel like in Texas, whether it's like your steak or your barbecue or whatever it is, servings are generally bigger than we need, which now, as a dietitian, of course, I have different views on food as opposed to what I had growing up. And I think one thing too that I particularly remember growing up personally is I was always a big sweets fan. I love desserts. Like I love baking. My dad also like has a big sweet tooth. And so me and him and in our family, we always wanted desserts. And so we always like wanted to bake and, or I would bake. And so I think too, it was more like growing up, it was more so food was like, you eat what you like, right? It's like, that was it for me. I never really got into the nutrition piece until I got a little bit older and got more interested in that.
Nice. I'll tell you, I loved the food down there. It was delicious. Chris, you ever spend time in Texas?
What did you have?
What'd you have first, and then I'll tell you.
So, okay, let's see. We had this place called Grace's. Of course, I had to get me some fried chicken. I wanted to go to Turkey Leg Hut, but nobody wanted to go to the Turkey Leg Hut with me. Turkey Leg Hut's a big Houston place. And then, of course, Saturday night we had to have a Texas steak. There's about a steakhouse every block in Houston. So I had a huge steak. It was delicious, but boy, I woke up about 2 a.m. sweating, full.
How many ounces was your steak?
I don't want to say.
Say it.
It was definitely more than that 10. No, I think it might have been around 14, but I didn't eat it all. I shared it. That was a lie.
What sides did you get? What sides?
Brussels sprouts that were cooked in bacon, cream corn, margaritas.
Mac and cheese?
No mac. I'm not a big mac and cheese guy. I know. It has to be made a certain way. So at a restaurant, mac and cheese, probably not for me. I need a family mac and cheese only.
What is the difference between, we have good barbecue, I guess, in Indiana, but we're not known for barbecue. What is the difference in Texas barbecue versus your other, staples of barbecue, whether it be Carolina or Kansas City or Memphis?
They don't even call that Carolina stuff barbecue. You got to.
I would say the biggest thing with Texas barbecue, like brisket, is like Texas barbecue.
So
that's like ours, like the staple for. No, yeah. And another thing too, whenever I was in Alabama, they put coleslaw on their barbecue sandwiches, which is not something we generally do here. But brisket is more like your go-to with barbecue here.
What's the no-no in like Texas? There's like you talk about, they put coleslaw in Alabama on the barbecue, and there's things in different places where if you were to do that in another state, they might, put you in jail. And I think in Texas, they may just shoot you. What are the no-nos that we maybe in other areas of the country break if we were in Texas?
Well, so the coleslaw to me is a weird deal. And also some people will say, I have some friends that are really big barbecue connoisseurs, and they would say, if the brisket is good enough, you don't need barbecue sauce.
I like that.
So
what is the barbecue sauce down there? Is it more like a vinegar based, ketchup based, mustard based, or is it all?
I would say it's a little bit sweeter. I mean, you can get spicy ones. A lot of times they'll have, like different levels of spiciness. But yeah, you can kind of get anything you want.
Yeah, I haven't had the full Texas experience. Like we traveled once with volleyball down to Texas, and then when I was a senior in college, we drove 31 hours straight from Bloomington to Vegas. And our plan originally was to stop in Amarillo. We're like, Amarillo, Texas. We'll be there around 5 p.m. We'll get some barbecue and stuff. And as we were driving through Amarillo, we're looking at like, we're just gonna keep going. So that's really
that's not the food destination point in Texas by any means. Although you can there's like a huge steakhouse where you can, if you eat like a 72-ounce steak in one sitting, they'll give it to you for free. So you could do that in Amarillo.
What about the cardiogram or anything like that? Does that come with it as well?
It should. Another thing too that Texas, like I feel like whenever in Indiana, a lot of people thought the Mexican food in Indiana was good. No.
Well, I think everybody in Indiana just hasn't experienced other, like a lot of people in Indiana, I don't think get out very much. or it's more of like Midwest, you don't get out very much. And if you do, it's usually to like a Disney World or a touristy place. So you haven't, my wife and I, a couple of years ago, we went to New York, and that was her first time in New York. And we just, you walk down the street and you go down into some of the basement restaurants that are some of the best restaurants in the world, and you eat that food, and then you're ruined forever. Cause then you come back to Indiana and like, oh, this is great Chinese food or Mexican food or whatever it is. And it's like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
I think that's a beauty of food, though, right? Like you watch some of these street food shows, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's one of the street food vendors in Thailand just got a Michelin star. Right now, I'm not sure what Michelin stars mean in the terms of restaurants, but I know it means really good, right? And so you can get home cooked food that's delicious. You can get restaurant cooked food that's delicious. You can have all the opposite. I always make some stuff at home, and I sit down. I'm like, hey man, this is about to be fire, and it tastes like garbage, hot garbage. Like, Colin, you ruined this food. So you can have.
Colin, we still have to do our dinner party.
Yes, Brittney. I think that is phenomenal. Like, you showed me some pictures of the different dinner parties you throw and different social events, and I mean that's what food is, right? It brings people together.
Yeah, that's the best part of food, is just like enjoying it with people, like your close friends, family. That's like the ultimate like food experience for sure.
And now we just have DoorDash. Maybe not in Texas. Maybe it's been more open in Texas, but in Indiana, we're shut down. We've been shut down. So it's just DoorDash. DoorDash and a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old.
So we
haven't had a dinner party since COVID, but
well, we will have to throw the first one back. I need to invite you out to Baltimore for that.
Perfect.
Working in sports, obviously me as an athletic trainer, Chris is a strength coach. I know we get a ton of questions from people, a ton of, oh, what about this in your job? What about that? When I tell people I'm an athletic trainer, the first thing people say to me is, oh, you can help me work out. And I got to explain to them the difference between a personal trainer and an athletic trainer, how we're medical providers and all that. I usually boil it down to, don't roll your eyes at medical provider. I saw that. I usually boil it down to, have you ever watched a football game? Those guys that run out there, that's me, right? I do that. We evaluate, we treat. When somebody says, oh, or hears, oh, you're a team dietitian, you're a sports dietitian, what's the first question that they ask? And what's your generic run-of-the-mill answer?
Well, there's two things. First thing is when they hear it, they're like, oh, will you make me a meal plan? Second thing, they'll either do that, or like, let's say if I meet somebody on a plane, and they're like, oh, what do you do? And I tell them, they're like, okay, well, normally I eat really good, but last night I had cake. Like, they'll just confess their food to me. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, that's fine. Like, I don't need to know your 24-hour recall. Like, I don't care. So they'll usually either ask for a meal plan or just confess all the bad food that they had recently.
Chris, what do they ask you?
Well, usually the first thing, they're like, oh, so you're a trainer? And I'm like, no, bro. We're not trainers.
Yes, you're a personal trainer. You're a personal trainer.
What are the different terms too you get called? Like, we get called nutritionalist. We get called it's like all these different terms. It's like, no, we're a dietitian.
Strength trainer, we had called. We try to call ourselves athletic performance coaches, or we try to throw. You know how it is in college, and you try to change your titles and job descriptions and try to boost. I like strength coach, and normally the conversation goes because they always want to know what sport, because it's what do you do? I'm a coach. I work at IU. I'm like, oh, what do you coach? And I'm like, I'm a strength coach. Like, oh, so you work with football? And it's like, no, there's a lot of athletes that we work with, and they all lift and they all train and they all condition. So, and then it just becomes it blows their mind. And I think hopefully it's opening more eyes after what happened with the NCAA men's and women's. What is your thought on that, by the way? Now being in the pros, but you were in college, with the difference of the women's tournament, and some of it was they're in different hotels, and some of the food quality wasn't as good. And then obviously the weight room issue. Like, where did you come down on that?
Oh man. I mean, it's like, I played sports growing up. So I obviously am a female, so playing, and I played basketball. So in that situation, how, just with the weights, for example, how, I don't understand, how did that miss that many people to be and them to think that's okay? They're these women are elite athlete, stronger than probably most of men on the NCAA board. Like, I just, it doesn't even make sense to me, like how they even thought that was going to be okay.
And for me, it was like, you have to go out of your way to make it different, right? If you're ordering something, if you're ordering a bench for the men's locker room, why would you not just order two? Just click two. You have to go out of your way to order a separate bench. You have to go out of your way to try to make it different. And it is indicative of the country, right? Women still make 82 cents on the dollar that men make in the same job. And it's kind of showcasing the inequalities that are out there, right? You think about, all of us have traveled with men's teams and women's teams. What was the better experience traveling? I'll tell you right now, it was better traveling with the men's teams, right? When I was at Delaware as a student trainer, the women's basketball team would eat the leftovers from the men's basketball team. Now that was 2005. That was 2008. And we didn't have team dietitians, and the NCAA restrictions on food were a little bit different then, but still, why is it not the same? It's crazy to me.
Yeah. And I think what you said too, it's like, I mean, that was the perfect picture of like, this is what women get all the time. So it's like, it's almost like, and again, why do you think that it's like, and I get that men and women's sports bring in different revenues. Like, I understand that aspect. And so I get that that's a dynamic of this, but still it's not acceptable to have that low of a bar for women's sports.
And I think that go ahead, Chris.
I'll go.
No, you know,
I'll go. Beauty of Zoom.
Are you going to go?
Yeah, I'm collecting myself and collecting my thoughts. So I agree with all that. It's kind of, to me, it's indicative of athletics, and you all have been a part of programs where they'll put up signage on the wall and it will say integrity or trust, or, you know, the NCAA's model is a nonprofit organization for all. Title IX, equity. So you can't, I think it might have been, I can't remember his name. He used to play in the NFL. It was on ESPN, but he's like, this is the battle between capitalism and equality as far as, you know, they don't do what they say. So if it's supposed to be equal for everybody, and I'm not saying you have to have, like, they have a bench, you have a bench. My problem with it was because, you know, a lot of people are like, well, just give them the same thing, or just, that was the easy solution. And my problem is the deeper root of it is no one asked the women's side. Like, no one called a strength coach or a head coach and be like, you guys plan on lifting in the first week? They had that document that was out and no one raised the question of, you know, we're not gonna be able to lift until the second week. And it was funny, we were on a staff meeting and our team's doing great right now. They're in the Sweet 16, but they were down there and he's like, this is before the story broke. He's like, yeah, there's like a couple dumbbells and a yoga mat. He's like, we'll make do. And we always do. Like, all Jock supporters, you make do with what you have and what you have to work with. But there was never a conversation of, you have elite level athletes on that side. How about we give you what you guys need and what you prefer, as opposed to someone in a boardroom saying, well, this is probably what they need. Like, if you just funnel down to the people that work with the athletes on a daily basis, you'll get the best answer.
That was my thought too. Is like, why didn't they have a panel of like sports dietitians for the food, of strength and conditioning coaches for the weights? And it's not like, yeah, I don't even think the women necessarily need all the weight equipment that the men had. It's more just like, okay, what do you need? Like, and for a strength coach that works with them, like maybe 5 of them, you know, be like, hey, this is like, if we are going minimal, this would be like a good setup. And like, strength coaches and sports dietitians on the collegiate level would like love to help with that.
There's not a Jock supporter out there that wouldn't jump at an opportunity to advise the NCAA on something. And the NCAA is full of athletic trainers, strength coaches, dietitians that work every single day with the athletes. Now, the comparison to professional sports, I am a little bit different on. Like, when the women's soccer team was talking about how much they got paid for their championships, I agree with them. They should be getting paid more. But when you deal with collective bargaining agreements that you agree to and different things like that, I think you are allowed to have more of a difference. But you don't even allow the NCAA athletes to have collective bargaining agreements. You don't allow the NCAA athletes to advocate for themselves. And I think this is that same thing. So if you're under a collective bargaining agreement and you have certain things that the legal systems agree to and you sign on, I think that's a little different. But these female student athletes signed on to win championships, not to be given dumbbells from Walmart.
Yeah, and this is like a privilege to be in this tournament.
I also thought it was funny. Did you see the difference in the gift packages?
Oh, yeah.
So I love a good t-shirt. I love a good sweatshirt, polo, give me a good tee all day. Long sleeve t-shirt, I'm in. But I just went through my mom's house and threw out donated about 70 t-shirts of different NCAA this and this team, that team. How about giving some gifts they need? How about pulling that money and giving them some hyper ices, some foam rollers, some Gatorade supplies? Like, how about some functional training equipment? That's what their gift should be.
Some cooking equipment.
Yes.
If I got a cast iron skillet for every time I got a t-shirt, I'd be much happier, man.
You have to lug that thing around if you got that as a gift bag. I mean, those things are like 20 pounds. There's your dumbbells.
Well,
Just you give
weight.
cast iron skillets. There's our weight. Two birds, one stone. You know what I mean? Hey, at least throw a little drip drop in there, something,
Put it in the skillet and lift it. Even heavier.
Functional training. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
I like the nutritionalist. I'm a little partial to the name nutritionalist now. I don't
like the mentalist. It's like they're going to come out with a TV show about it.
You'll probably still spell that wrong though, because you spelled dietitian wrong. This also is a public service announcement. Dietitian does not have a C in it. It's diet, ITIAN.
Wow, that's on me. I apologize. Dang, I
Fine.
didn't even know.
Now you know. Now you know. Now you know, a trainer.
Chris is so happy that you called me out too. Look at him. He's never been happier. I never seen a smile like that. Well, also, but Brittney, you're the one
who typed it, but
Brittney, you're the one who educated me on the difference between a nutritionist and a registered dietitian. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because as an athletic trainer, I didn't know.
Do you remember the difference now, though?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So there's a big difference. Basically, anyone can call themselves a nutritionist. Y'all too could call yourselves a nutritionist. My grandma could call herself a nutritionist. There's no legal definition for a nutritionist. A registered dietitian, there's a lot of education that you have to complete, and then you have to do a national recognized dietetic internship and then pass a nationally recognized board exam. So registered dietitians have their undergrad degree in dietetics, and then you have to do a 1,200-hour supervised practice dietetic internship. And those are like pretty hard to get matched. It's about a 50% match rate of people that apply and people get matched. So you have to complete that, and then you're qualified to do, or you're qualified to sit for your board exam of being a registered dietitian.
I think that's an important note to make, because the amount of education and the amount of knowledge that you guys have on the science of food, I mean, it's bar none. So it's important that we put that in the professionals' hands and not, myself as an athletic trainer. If anybody has any question for me, I'm fortunate enough to work with an amazing dietitian, so I'm able to refer them. But I think that's an important thing to note, especially, athletic trainers. We're always in the kind of the same boat, fighting that, well, a trainer is this, but an athletic trainer is that. So, as soon as you corrected me, I definitely respected that conversation. I think it's important.
And I think too, with all of our professions, it's like you have to, the path to get to where you are is, long and hard. But then once you are in that job, sometimes, and again, this looks different in every setting, but sometimes your day-to-day responsibilities and duties don't reflect that. So, you can see whoever doing, if it's the dietitian, maybe they're, putting out snacks, or maybe they're like doing these not super in-depth jobs, but that doesn't mean that their knowledge base isn't much deeper.
I'll tell you, I love that you call it or a lot of places call it a fueling station, right? Not a snack table, not a snack bar. It's a fueling station. I think that even that little change is huge in mind.
That's kind of leads into my next question. You've been in a few places and now you're working with multiple professional teams. What is, when you show up day one or first month, what are you trying to change and still evaluate when you come into a new program? Are you getting, are you getting more so from the strength coaches or the coaches of this person needs to gain weight, this person needs to lose weight, or is it more about this needs to perform?
So there's a couple of things. I mean, for me personally, whenever I start with a new team, I try to learn what they currently have in place with nutrition in terms of like systems and team nutrition programming. So kind of seeing what they do already with like vitamins and mineral protocols, with their fueling station, with team meals, with that kind of thing. And then also get to know the players and staff. Sometimes there is a lot of improvement to make with nutrition, but if you just first day one start implementing all those things, you may not be very well liked and it may not be very well received. So I think you have to get in there, get to know people, get to know like what is the current landscape, and then learn how to implement those positive changes that you want in a like friendly way kind of thing. So you do get to know the staff, you know, so with on the strength side, you know, I think with working as a dietitian, sports dietitian on the strength side with strength coaches, that generally that's more kind of performance-based metrics. So if it's body composition, you know, maybe it's body composition changes that the strength coach wants certain players to make, whether that's gaining muscle mass or leaning out a little bit. Nutrition directly impacts that, you know, so it's working with a strength coach on that. On the athletic training side, you know, it's working kind of on the health, recovery, injury prevention, injury recovery, medical protocols, those kind of things on kind of like the health and wellness of the athlete. And then strength is more like performance. And so it's getting to know, I guess, where it's currently at, and then where can we go in a collaborative way to improve all those different outcomes.
The ship flows downhill, and you have the head coach or an assistant coach, and they're looking at an athlete. You're coming towards the end of a season, and they're like, well, so-and-so looks out of shape, or so-and-so needs to drop weight in the off season, so-and-so, and they go to the next person down, and that's, you know, the strength coach is there, and it's, you should get them in shape. And then the strength coach is, oh, we do this stuff. Okay, we got to get nutrition involved. What do you want that conversation to be? What is the best way for a strength coach to approach a nutritionist or a dietitian, whatever they have at their school or program, that doesn't, because, you know, I'm sure there's been instances where a strength coach is like, these dudes are fat. Like, what the hell is going on? We need them to lose weight, do your job. And that's probably not the most professional or best way to go about it. Where, from your angle, how would you want that approach to come?
Sure. And I think, you know, in any of those settings, hopefully there's a good working relationship between the professionals, right? You know, I think that's goal number one, is to have just a good collaborative team of strength coach, athletic trainer, you know, everybody that's involved, dietitian. So hopefully when situations like that happen, you already have that working relationship. And so it's fairly natural, you know, I mean, that would be the goal, I think. But if maybe that's not in place quite yet. And I think too, every dietitian setup is a little bit different. You know, I've been in situations where I'm there full time, and then I've been in situations where I consult. So there's always, for me as a consultant, there's always a gap of like, okay, this is all the things that I would want to do, but this is like my priorities because I only have this much time with the team. So I think it's in that situation, if, you know, an athlete does need to make some changes in their body weight, body composition, it's communicating. And I think it's important too for the dietitian to have good relationships with the players. Because I mean, if they don't, you know, if they don't even know you, or like, I mean, you want to have that good working relationship with the players too. But I think, yeah, you communicate, hey, you know, we have this situation. It's a really high priority for the coach. You know, can you, you know, just spend some extra time with him, work with him, that kind of thing. And then hopefully, again, those relationships are there. But if they're not, we work to build that. And then nutrition's funny too, because I mean, there is things that as a dietitian I need to do, and it's my job. But I'm also not I can't force feed an athlete or not let him eat. Like, I mean, so it sometimes too comes down to like the athlete has got to want to do it themselves. And if they don't, then, I mean, you can obviously, you know, motivate and do all these other things, but that's part of the piece too. I mean, the athlete does have to want to do that themselves.
You hit the nail on the head right there.
And you know, I think food from a comfort side, food from a therapeutic side, you're dealing with, you know, when you get to the professional leagues, you're 21 plus. When you get to college, you're 17, 18. That's 17 years of a learned behavior, right? It's 25 years of a learned behavior. I know there's, you know, at least in the Black community, there's a lot of red meat issues. There's a lot of pork issues. There's a lot of people who don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So if you didn't eat something growing up, And now you have a dietitian that is just there if it's on a consultant term and not a full-time thing that says, hey, you need to be eating this and this. Well, their mothers didn't cook it for them growing up, right? Or they came from a country where that wasn't available. Have you had experiences like that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's one piece I think that's important with kind of everybody's food culture is very different. What they prefer, what they were brought up, how they were brought up, how they ate growing up. And so that plays a big piece in everybody's individual preferences and their habits and their likelihood to have behavior change when it comes to nutrition. So that's a big piece that I think is important as a dietitian to learn. You have to get to know those athletes and what they are used to, because I mean, I've had athletes like that have never eaten strawberries or that have never eaten certain fruits and vegetables, they've never even tried it. And so when I tell them, hey, we need to eat more vegetables, that's not anywhere near in their diet. And so it's learning that. And then I think a huge thing that's really important with people with the dietitian and a player's relationship is just like meeting them where they are. Everybody has, nutrition is such a spectrum, right? Like such a spectrum. So some people are here, some people are here, so you have to learn where that athlete is and say, okay, like we're here, no big deal. We're going to go here. And to get here, we're going to do this. And then so you make those small steps to try to make that consistent behavior change to improve, to meet that bigger goal, whether it is, losing weight, gaining weight, just eating healthier for injury prevention or whatever the kind of the larger goal is. We're working in those baby steps. And sometimes you have to take even more baby steps with some, and then others you can do a lot more.
Well, I think, I was fortunate enough to work with you. So I got to see kind of how you did it firsthand. You were actually the first registered dietitian that I've worked with. You were the first sports dietitian that I ever met. And to see you build the trust with the football players at Indiana was kind of where I saw the worth. The players trusted you. The players believed you because they saw you in the meal room. They saw you come out to practice. They saw you on the road. They knew that you were invested in their success, right? We spoke at length about injury nutrition, and we were in a unique situation at IU at the time. So the access wasn't as much as it needed to be. And I think that you guys were severely understaffed from a nutrition staff, a dietitian staff standpoint. I just loved how good you were with related to the players. And I think that trust factor is huge.
Yeah. And I think especially when it comes to just their food and eating, because of all those things we talked about of like how they grew up, the food culture, the food preferences, like if they don't trust you, I mean, that's with anything, but I feel like with food, it's even more so. If they don't trust you and they feel like they can't approach you and talk to you, then I feel like you're not really going to get anywhere.
I have a PSA for all Jock supporters out there and anybody that has the power to make this change. I need the dietitians to decide the post-game meal everywhere. Okay. Because that's what I care about is the post-game meal. And nobody ever lets the dietitians choose it because they think they're going to pick like grilled chicken and broccoli. So we end up with 4-hour-old barbecue. I'm like, man, can we just let the dietitian pick it? Because I know she'll pick some fire.
A lot of sandwiches on the road. Sandwiches.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's where, especially coming from like a team environment, food is fun. You got to make it fun. And if you're always eating chicken and salad or chicken and broccoli, first of all, the dietitian's probably not going to last very long, and the people are not going to be happy. Like you've got to make the people happy to some degree. So you've got to but you just have to be strategic with it. So like, am I going to feed that to them for a pregame meal? No, but after the game, yeah, at certain times, yeah, let's throw in some just fun foods.
Are you like, hey, we're in Philly, get a Philly cheesesteak, we're in Maryland, get some crab cakes, or are you, staying strict? We got to replenish our carbohydrates.
No. I think it's very if there are cultural foods in that geographical area, oh yeah. The Mavs were in New Orleans tomorrow. So, New Orleans food all over the place. Not all over the place, but at right times. Beignets, we got some jambalaya, crawfish and
I'll get some jambalaya now.
Who's more
Philly cheesesteaks in Philly?
Who do you who eats more, or who is more picky on the pregame snacks? The athletic trainers or the strength coaches, or the halftime snacks? Are the athletes eating it more, or are the strength coaches eating more of those snacks?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't think strength coaches or athletic trainers neither are very picky. If it's there, they're going to eat it. And same thing with players that don't play. Never picky.
Oh, yes.
The only people that are picky are the people that I actually want to eat them.
Hey, you get that one college football player that's like 140th on the roster, a very important scout team guy, does a great job during the week. But let me tell you something. You have never seen a larger plate Friday night. They have 2 steaks, they got potatoes, mound high. And then as soon as they get to the stadium, they start, ooh, PB&J.
They're the
Ooh,
ones
this
eating all the
Gatorade.
honey stingers. You got like 12 honey stingers in the whole box, and they're the ones eating them.
So when the starting quarterback needs it, it's all empty.
He's like, "Where's the
because-
stinger?" I don't know.
I love it. And the
Always.
assistant coaches are always in there. I'm guilty. You know, we don't even bring out our nutrition trunk until right before game time because the staff would eat it all. I'm
Yeah.
a hungry
What's
guy.
your food? What's your like for travel? I'm asking both of you. Like, what is your setup when you're going on a travel trip? Is there like Google Forms, a menu, certain options, and like when you're traveling, what are you yourself picking off that menu? Because I know we talked about the travel of like female athletes and stuff. I tell you, IU does it really well. I at least I know with like the women's basketball program, the volleyball program, some of the other ones, like we travel really good. And then when the order form comes out, I'm not ordering the personal pan pizza. I'm ordering the large pizza and probably some apps. Like post game, I need refueled too. So like, what
Apps
is
and
the
Zerps,
setup on the
apps
route?
and Zerps.
Yeah, but but like you said, it's 4-hour-old barbecue. You can never get like a shake or any of the desserts because you just don't know what the consistency of it's going to be when it actually shows up on the bus.
I'll take travel with like an Olympic sport team way over football because football, I mean, there's so many people and staff. It's got to be banquet, right? And they submit the banquet stuff. They charge you for every Gatorade. They charge you for every water. So if you want Gatorade there, well, now the mashed potatoes can't have chives in it. So there are some things. I don't plan to make the menu. I don't say I make the menu, but I definitely critique the menu at every stop. So I'm guilty of that. But I love traveling with the Olympic sports because then you go to Carrabba's and you get to eat whatever.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, that's another thing too. As a dietitian, it's like I've learned you're never going to make everyone happy. So it's like it's a lose-lose with food. It's lose-lose. So like if you are selecting it, you know, you're going to have some people come up to you and be like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best meal I've ever had." 2 seconds later, another person is going to say, "This is awful. Like, I don't like it. Please never do this again." It's like, it's just lose-lose. So another thing that's lose-lose as a dietitian, while we're on this topic of what I would eat. So like I said, I love food. I love healthy food. I love not so healthy food. Love food. It's lose-lose when you eat as a dietitian. Because if you do eat healthy, people are like, "Oh, of course she's eating healthy. She's a dietitian. Like, oh, look at your salad and salmon." But then if I like eat pizza or something that's, you know, not as healthy, they're like, "Wait, what are you doing? You can't eat that. You're a dietitian."
What's your go-to response to that? Because I know for strength coaches, they're like, "Aren't you know, there's a conditioning component to your job, and you're just over here eating pizzas, and it's really simple for us. It's bulking season."
It depends who it is on what my response is. So
I never thought it would be a thing for a dietitian to bite into a cheeseburger and the coach looking at her like, "What are you doing over there?" I'm eating whatever I
Yeah,
want.
always.
How many people change their orders because they had good intentions coming in? And so just for me, I'll be at the beginning of the week and our director of ops sends out the food forms. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with salad. I'm going to get that salad. I'm going to eat good on the road this week. And then it gets to like Wednesday and I go over to the ops and I'm like, I don't want that salad. And they're like, "I know, I ordered you a burger." Like who's changing their meals the most?
Well, that's an experienced ops person because that's good on their part, because that's another issue if you do order, like order ahead and people select certain things. It's like, "No, I want this now." It's like, "That's not what you picked."
And I can't imagine when you give the menu in advance, the amount of changes or people who try to write in like, "Oh, I want no tomato." bro, just get the sandwich. Just pick the tomato off.
Oh yeah.
Just let's be simple. You know, when we travel too, everyone thinks everybody becomes a diva on the road, right? Everybody is a gluten-free vegan who needs the special cheese, right? And it's just
That's you. Let's be honest. That's you, Colin.
I mean, I was vegan for some
Vegan for
time.
sure.
Thank you.
Vegan for sure. Yeah.
I was
probably
vegan
your
for 10 months.
Yeah. What's the
Did
next
you have
big thing?
was that a
sorry,
16 ounce Beyond Burger steak you had then?
Plant-based burger, plant-based steak. Hey, so what's
Listen.
the next thing? Because I remember this is when you were still at IU, Colin. I remember there was some vegan documentary that came out, and you had guys on the team all of a sudden become vegan, and you're like, bro, just because you're eating potato chips doesn't mean you're vegan. But every about 6 months to a year, there's a new athletic realm documentary on food and performance and what you eat and can't. So we can get ahead of it. What is the one that's about to come down the pipe?
Oh man, I mean, I don't know what it's going to be. There's always going to be something, and I think the latest one was Game Changers. That's the one. That one came out fairly recently. You know, everybody was like wanting to be a vegan, which including more plants, great. Eliminating all animal products, we'll see.
The number one positive effect I think that the 10 months of vegan had on me was one, I lost 80 pounds. So I was 290. I went from 290 to 211. Probably needed some change at 290. But I wasn't eating like mushrooms, cauliflower for no reason at all. It really made me diversify what I was eating, which I still take to this day. So I think that was a positive of it. I don't think I needed to do as drastic as I did, but it definitely taught me, hey, you know, cauliflower is not bad. Brussels sprouts are delicious if you just prepare them the right way without bacon.
Well, and I've had athletes come to me that want to become vegan. So it's like, okay, well let's talk about it. You know, what are you currently doing? So I'll talk to them about like what their current diet is. No plants to be found. So it's like they're wanting to go from like, you know, this not a great diet, like on the spectrum. They're here and they're wanting to go from here to here, and it's like, that's great. You want to like improve your diet, but sometimes it's just such a drastic change. But to get to your question, Chris, about what's next, I think one thing that is going to be next, and which is going to be a little bit of this isn't a fad diet, but something that's a trend in sports nutrition, I think will continue, is more like personalized nutrition. There's going to be some general things across the board that is going to be beneficial for every athlete, but then that individualized nutrition, I think, is where it's really going to take it to the next level. So and there's a few things potentially that could impact that, whether it's like biomarkers or nutrigenomics. That one's like still in the very early stages. So I think there's still science that needs to come out on that. But I think personalized and more individualized nutrition is going to be something that we'll continue to see more of.
Do either of you guys get involved in like the sweat testing or urinalysis, things like that in your respective institutions? Or
that was going to be a question of mine, because we get a lot of hydration, like they need to be hydrated, and it's always like push water. Is it, from a nutrition standpoint or dietitian's take, with dehydration and hydrating and all that, is it more of a water deal or is it more of a mineral deal?
Well, and it depends, and I think that's where you can do that individual stuff. So with sweat testing, you can get, the composition of that athlete's sweat, what percent is sodium, what percent, you can find those individual characteristics and then personalize them a plan, because that's the thing. I mean, we can recommend hey, make sure, those general things, make sure you're hydrating, make sure you are including salt and foods and electrolytes. But if they're continually having issues, there's something else that's probably specific to that athlete that we need to explore that's only going to be specific to them.
I think those companies that like Gatorade, who have dietitians, strength coaches, and athletic trainers that all kind of work together, they're coming up with different products for sweat testing. And I think it only enhances kind of what we do. I spoke about it a little bit earlier, but I think that the place that dietitians are needed the most for me are when a guy is injured, either surgery, acute, chronic. I think that is so underutilized, the effect that nutrition can have on healing the body. Yeah, I mean, the nutrition is always involved in our lives.
right? Eating is something we're going to do our entire life. And then when it comes to specific situations or events, like, injury, if we can do everything that we can on the front end for injury prevention, one, first and foremost, is just making sure the athlete is eating enough, the right kinds of things, staying well hydrated, just, again, those things that will apply to everyone. But then if unfortunately an injury occurs, then it's like, okay, like implementing those nutrition protocols quickly, because that will, again, in addition to everything else that they're going to be doing with you, Colin, is maximizing their return to play, and depending on the type of injury it is, there are several dietary things that we can manipulate to minimize muscle atrophy and, again, help build that athlete back up so that they can get back to the field, court, whatever.
Keeping the dietitian in the loop, keeping the strength and conditioning coach in the loop as an athletic trainer, I think is so important, right? So if the dietitian knows that, hey, John Doe's first day squatting is going to be Wednesday, back from an ACL, his first day in the weight room squatting is going to be Wednesday. So they know, hey, Sunday night, Monday, they're checking in, making sure they have everything they need from a fuel standpoint to produce that on Wednesday. Now they also know, hey, this is their first day squatting Wednesday. So Wednesday night, Thursday, I need to hit them with some recovery stuff as well. So including people in those decisions, I think only helps. And a lot of times athletic trainers want to keep things secret, want to keep things private. And we do have to follow laws for HIPAA privacy stuff, but there's no reason why not to include everybody. If the strength coach knows that Wednesday they're lifting with the athletic trainer, well, Tuesday, they're probably not going to do a lift that will affect that. But a lot of times that communication is a rift between the dietitian and athletic trainer, or strength conditioning coach and athletic trainer. And I think that is a change that the younger generation of professionals is really working to handle. I know the rehabs I made were enhanced when that player consulted the dietitian or when I communicated with the strength coach about what they were doing.
One recommendation I'd have with that for anybody out there, what we started doing at IU was, when not so much if, someone sprains an ankle, but if someone goes down with an injury where they're going to have an extended period of time, we put together a performance team. We have a performance team as it is just with our program, the volleyball program. It's myself, the athletic trainer, the dietitian, and the sports psychologist. And then when someone goes down, or if someone goes down, knock on wood, we meet every 3-4 weeks, because say it's an ACL and it's going to be a 6-month deal before they even really start getting into stuff. There's going to be different phases in which that athlete experiences over that 6 months where it's going to hit one of those at least 4 components. So we meet and we discuss, where is she at in her rehab? Where is he at in his rehab? Where how is their nutrition going? Because, early on it's going to be heavy PT, heavy, with you, Colin, something like that with an athletic trainer. The nutritionist should be involved the entire way, or the dietitian the entire way, so we can keep the body, like that. Keep the body composition in check as we go along, because that could be a huge hurdle late in the recovery game if the body composition is way different from when they were injured. And then as the strength coach gets more involved, they start able to do more stuff. And then we like the sports psych to be involved as well, because when they start to do movements on the court field, there's a huge mental hurdle to overcome there. So just making sure everybody's on the same page. So if you have the opportunity to do that with some of your catastrophic injuries, I recommend it, because it works really well, just keeping everybody on the same page with that.
I think that's what I was just going to say. I think that's the perfect model that you want, is you have a team of healthcare professionals that are taking care of the athlete, and like everybody has their own position to play on the team, and so like we all bring something different to the table and we all have different expertise, but it all goes together, so I think if we can play together with our athletes and teams, that's going to be the best case scenario.
And we have seen a change recently. When I was in NCAA sports, there was a change in the protein, what teams could provide, and it gave a little bit more focus on that. I always say that the top 3 modalities we have in healing: nutrition, hydration, and sleep. If you don't have good nutrition, if you're not hydrated and you don't sleep, you're never gonna get better. But we have teams, Division I schools with 15 plus sports and 1 dietitian and a couple interns. Not okay, right? You have.
Did you change your order?
No, I didn't change my order, but the The food came. We finished practice and the food came, and I'm upstairs. So our ops is like, "What room?" Dropped it off right outside. Service, man.
You
Great
get
service.
hand delivered.
Well, normally I go down and get it, but I
must be nice.
informed earlier. I was like, that's that yeah. So, but
What'd you get? Turkey Tom?
no, number 10, no lettuce.
What's number
That's
10? Club Lulu?
Hunter's Club. Roast beef, provolone, mayo, tomato.
Mayo? Come on, we got a dietitian on.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't care.
No, but I think that schools that have 15 plus sports and one dietitian are on their way, but they got to get better. We are stretching these professionals so thin. And you think about athletic trainers, we did a good job of separating ourselves and trying to say, okay, well, women's soccer really needs care year round. Women's volleyball needs a strength coach year round, right? They don't need to, these training cycles are not just in season. But it seems in dietetics that we have said that it's okay for one dietitian to cover 15 plus sports. And I think that's where you get a disservice, because that dietitian is not going to be able to do as best they can. And you're kind of setting them up.
Yeah, it's tough. And it's grown a lot for sure. I mean, the world of sports dietetics has grown a lot since I've been in it. And so, but I agree. I mean, especially on the collegiate level, when you have, and some programs have 5 or 6 dietitians on staff, which is great. But even that ratio to dietitian to athlete is still low. And so, and then now as a consultant with teams, it's like, it's tough. I mean, I can implement some things, but imagine for either of y'all's jobs, like if you tried to tell someone else to do it, it's tough because you're not there to implement it. You're not there to oversee it. You're not there to see how it went to improve it. So, I mean, yeah, I think like the NFL is a great example. That one is getting to where almost every team has a full-time person and some have multiple. And so it's definitely getting there, but we still have some room to grow. Cause I think that is, that's a good point, because you can't, if you can't do the individualized nutrition if you have hundreds of athletes that you're overseeing.
Now, what are some, if there's a student out there that wants to get into dietetics or wants to get more involved in this, what are some things they could go to look? I know you're a member of a couple professional organizations.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think if you're an undergrad, if you have a sports nutrition program at your college, like that's going to be your best practical resource is, I was a student worker at A&M, and the first time I didn't get paid for a while. I just worked in it, and that's, you just get experience, you see what it's like. That's, I think, the first and foremost thing that you can do. If you have someone in your area, even if it's not your college, if you have a sports dietitian in your area, see if you can be around them, shadow them, work for them, whatever, because then you kind of see the real life experience, obviously. You have to do all the education, like in y'all's jobs too, you have to have the education credentials, but also you have to have the experience, and so gaining experience when you're younger is always going to be beneficial. And in terms of organizations, one of the best ones, I think, for sports dietetics is CPSDA, which is Collegiate and Professional Sports Dietitians Association. And so that one has a lot of resources for professionals and students. There's workshops and conferences they put on for, again, students and professionals. There's a listserv. There's a lot of resources on that. So I would say if somebody's wanting to get into it, that would be a great organization to be a part of.
The CPSDA. All right, I want to make sure I wrote that down correctly. Yeah. So what is next for Brittney Bearden? What do you have in the works? Anything fun, exciting going on? Anything we can promote?
Oh man, I wish I could say like a pizza truck or a pizza restaurant or something, but
when you guys follow Brittney on IG, you will see the pizza. She has the greatest list of pizza. I know Dave Portnoy probably thinks he is one better, but I don't know. Sports RD Britt, she's up there.
What's the best pizza in the country? If we're talking about pizza, like I know what you want to order, but what is the best pizza you've had?
There's so many good ones, and there's different categories, because you have deep dish, which is good, but that's a separate category from your wood-fired thin crust. Oh man, There's so many good ones. Like
Jack's
it's like I
Originals?
don't know if I can
Jack's
pick
Original? No?
what is that?
You cook it in the oven.
Hey, what's the pizza place in Bloomington? Is it still there? The one on the square? Like what was
Rockets?
the name of that one? No.
The
It
wood
was
fire
like
one?
wood fire.
King
Yeah,
Dough.
what's the name of that?
King Dough.
King Dough. Is that still there?
No, I don't know. It's not. But they have this new one called Da Vinci that's similar. It's down on like 3rd Street. That's people like.
Now, I was a very frequent visitor of Mother Bear's when I was in Bloomington.
Ooh.
I do.
I love Mother
do.
Bear's.
I love Mother Bear's too.
It's always
and
it's always good.
it's always good. And I miss like the actual like ambiance of Mother Bear's, because you go into Mother Bear's and you got the signatures on the wall, you can write stuff, and it's just a nice little spot.
Can you not go in anymore and dine in?
Not. I think they might allow some at the moment, but even I ordered Mother Bear's a couple weeks ago when I was picking up the kids because it's on the way, and I used to go in to order or pick up my pickup order, but now I got to get at the back door, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, that one was my favorite in Bloomington.
Mother Bear's is good. Well, I'll tell you, there are a lot of people who are out there supporting Jocks, a lot of the support staff members, including dietitians that are very important to the success that we have. So I know the world of sports is a big pie, but thank you for giving us your slice.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yeah, thanks, Brittney.
Bang boogie, bang boogie, bang boogie, bang boogie. Bang to the bang to the bang to the bang to the bang. Bust it. It's like bang boogie, boogie to the bang.